This is the full story of Valkorion, the immortal Sith Emperor who consumed entire worlds of life to save himself from death and ruled for 1500 years. Now you'll discover how he almost destroyed the galaxy 3 times, created the most powerful fleet in Star Wars history, and why his own children became the weapons that finally brought him down. Child of Shadows, a legend story. Our story begins in 5113 BBY on a farming world called Medrias, where a child named Tenebrae was born. From the moment he drew his first breath, everyone around him knew that something was wrong with this infant, who never cried like normal babies and showed no emotion at all. There was a reason for his darkness that would soon become clear, because Tenebrae's mother had kept a terrible secret that would shape the galaxy's future. She had had an affair with Sith Lord Drameth, which meant that Tenebrae carried pure Sith blood in his veins. For 6 years, this deadly secret stayed hidden from the man who raised him. But when his stepfather finally discovered the truth, he attacked Tenebrae's mother in a rage that would change everything. Because when Tenebrae felt his stepfather's raw anger flooding through the Force like hot metal, he realized he could feed on it hungrily. With this dark craving driving him, he snapped the man's neck with the Force. Instead of being scared by what he had done, Tenebrae smiled with real pleasure. He had just discovered that pain and fear made him stronger than anything else in the world. Once he understood this terrible truth, he immediately decided to get much more of both by hurting the people around him. For months afterward, Tenebrae tortured his own mother. This wasn't random cruelty, but careful testing, as he fed on her terror like a hungry animal while studying exactly how different types of suffering could make his power in the Force grow stronger. When he finally killed her, it was with cold planning. Still, only 6, he had already become a monster. With his powers growing stronger through each act of cruelty, by age 10, he had taken over large parts of Medrias through fear and murder. But his greatest test was still ahead, confronting the very Sith Lord whose blood ran through his veins. The father's legacy. When Tenebrae was 10 years old, his true father came looking for him. Sith Lord Drameth had heard strange stories about a powerful child on Medrias who claimed to be his son. Curious about these disturbing reports, he wanted to see the boy for himself. The meeting was short and deadly. When Drameth tried to control his son's mind like any other Sith would, Tenebrae did something that should have been impossible. He turned the attack back on his father, stealing away all of Drameth's Force power and driving the ancient Sith Lord completely insane before killing him. Not satisfied with just murder, Tenebrae tapped his father's spirit like a prisoner, keeping Drameth's soul as a weapon he planned to use against his enemies in the future. Now with his father dead, Tenebrae spent the following 3 years taking over the rest of Medrias. By age 13, he controlled the entire world and was ready for the next step in his rise to power. He went to meet Dark Lord Marka Ragnos, who ruled the Sith Empire at the time. Ragnos was so impressed by what the boy had done that he made Tenebrae an official Sith Lord, giving him the new name Lord Vitiate and letting him rule his world, which Vitiate immediately named Nathema. But even with official recognition and his own world to command, his darkest act was still to come. The consuming darkness. Lord Vitiate ruled Nathema with iron control for over a century, but then disaster struck. In 5000 BBY, the Sith Empire suffered its greatest defeat in the Great Hyperspace War, as their assault on the Galactic Republic failed miserably, forcing the surviving Sith Lords to flee back to their territories in disgrace. While others saw only failure, Vitiate's smart mind saw a great opportunity hidden within this crushing defeat. He sent a message across the broken Sith Empire. The message promised a special ritual that would give them ultimate power to destroy the Jedi forever. But the thousands of Sith Lords who answered his call had no idea they were walking into a trap. When they arrived on Nathema expecting salvation and ultimate power, Vitiate revealed his true plan. By then, it was far too late to escape. He seized control of all their minds at once in a display of power that should have been impossible. But his hunger went far beyond the assembled Force users. He consumed every living thing on the entire planet. Every death fed more dark-side energy into his being, while stripping the Force itself from the world. When the ritual ended, Nathema was completely dead. In exchange for this mass murder, Vitiate achieved something no Force user had ever done before: true immortality. But his hunger was not stilled yet, as he would spend the next 1,000 years building an empire that could finally give him the power he craved. Empire of Shadows. With Nathema dead and his immortality secured, the now Emperor of the Sith began his next phase of conquest. For 2 decades, he hid in the unknown regions, gathering the surviving Sith who had escaped the Republic's purge. The Emperor led these survivors on a 20-year journey through unknown regions until, in 4980 BBY, they discovered Dromund Kaas, a world perfect for rebuilding the Sith Empire from its ashes. Learning from the past, the Emperor carefully studied the old Empire's greatest failures. He created a totally new system of government where the Dark Council would handle day-to-day operations while he retreated into the shadows to become the secret ruler. His greatest trick was starting the devastating Mandalorian Wars that would reshape galactic politics for generations. Few understood the true puppet master behind the conflict that claimed millions of lives. To begin this carefully planned war, he secretly convinced the Mandalorians to attack the Republic. First, he sent a Sith messenger who planted visions of great conquest in Mandalore the Ultimate's mind, pushing the warrior clans into open war against the Republic. His real purpose was testing the Republic's military strength and political resolve under extreme pressure. Young Jedi Knights named Revan and Malak began investigating the war's mysterious true cause and eventually tracked him to Dromund Kaas. The Emperor had been expecting their arrival for years and took control of their minds completely, using techniques perfected on 8,000 Sith Lords. He changed the idealistic Jedi into Darth Revan and Darth Malak before sending them back to Republic space with orders to weaken the Republic for his invasion. But the Emperor made a crucial mistake that would haunt him for centuries. Revan and Malak had stronger wills than he expected and broke free from his mental control to find the ancient Starforge by themselves. They used the Starforge to build their own Sith Empire, and the resulting Jedi Civil War nearly destroyed the entire Jedi Order while serving his purposes, even if it didn't happen according to plan. When Revan was eventually captured, the Emperor kept him in stasis for over 300 years. But Revan's constant resistance slowed the Emperor's plans and weakened his connection to the dark side. Despite these unexpected setbacks, the Emperor remained patient because he had unlimited time to achieve his goals, while mortal beings could only oppose him for a few decades at most. But his true final goal was far more terrible than conquering the Republic or destroying the Jedi Order. Every war and every death was merely fuel for his final plan, where, when the last living thing in the universe finally died, he would enjoy perfect peace and wait for the cycle to begin again. The Emperor didn't want to rule the galaxy. He wanted to consume it completely. So for the next 1,000 years, he played puppet master from the shadows, always testing, always planning, until in 3681 BBY, his Sith Empire finally came out of hiding and started the Great Galactic War against the Republic. For 30 years, the galaxy burned as his armies took over world after world, even attacking Coruscant itself. Only when he got distracted by other plans did he agree to the Treaty of Coruscant in 3650Y BBY, leaving both sides stuck in an uneasy peace. While this devastating war raged openly across the galaxy, the Emperor was secretly building something much more dangerous in the unknown regions. Because even as he plotted to destroy the Republic, he was already building something that would surpass his wildest dreams of power. But the perfect world he created was about to be destroyed by the one thing it couldn't survive: his own family. The Broken Crown. After the Great Galactic War, both empires were still recovering when the Emperor vanished into the unknown regions. While exploring these uncharted worlds, he discovered something incredible: Zakuul and its legendary Eternal Fleet. Thousands of AI-controlled battlecruisers floated in deep space. This technology was far beyond anything in known space, but claiming this power required a completely new approach. Taking the name Valkorion, he began a new life while keeping his original body hidden on Dromund Kaas. As Valkorion, he created the Eternal Empire, a seeming utopia where citizens lived comfortably under their immortal emperor's guidance. This perfect act hid the same monster that had consumed Nathema, though the emperor played his role flawlessly. To complete his vision, Valkorion decided he needed a family. Senya Tiral had served as a brave knight of Zakuul, someone who dared to speak her mind even to the Emperor himself. He married her, and together they had 3 children: twin sons Arkan and Thexan, and a daughter named Valen. Senya had led missions across the galaxy with unmatched skill and honor, earning her place as the finest knight of Zakuul. When she first met Valkorion in the throne room, she was struck by moments of unexpected kindness. She fell in love with those fleeting moments, never realizing they were just another lie. Only years later, watching him send their daughter to be tortured, did she finally see the monster she had married. Their sons, Arcan and Thexan, shared everything. Training sessions where they pushed each other to excel, quiet conversations about their father's impossible expectations, and dreams of earning his respect that burned in their hearts every day. For years, the deception worked perfectly, but the Emperor's true nature couldn't remain hidden forever, and cracks began to show in his perfect family when Valkorion showed complete lack of interest toward his sons despite their desperate attempts to earn approval. However, his treatment of his own daughter, Vaylin, revealed the monster beneath the mask. Vaylin's powers showed up when she was very young, and she could move objects with just her mind. However, these abilities were so powerful that they terrified everyone who saw them, which made even her own father afraid of what she might become. These abilities were so immense they actually scared the immortal Emperor. But instead of helping her grow and flourish, Valkorion saw his daughter as nothing more than a threat to his power. He sent her to a facility on Nathema. There, she endured brutal mental conditioning designed to suppress her powers, torture that would twist her into something far worse than he feared, while breaking Senya's heart when she discovered what was happening to their daughter. When Senya tried to rescue Vaylin, Valkorion stopped her efforts with cold calculation. When later she tried to flee with all 3 children, they rejected their mother and called her weak for opposing their father, breaking the perfect family that Valkorion had created through his complete inability to understand love or real connection. His children grew up damaged by his emotional coldness and cruel treatment, carrying deep anger that would eventually lead to the downfall of their immortal father. Blood and Betrayal. Stories of mysterious attacks on border worlds made Darth Mar decide to hunt down the legendary Sith Emperor. He assembled a team of Republic operatives and launched an expedition into the unknown regions, searching for the source of these brutal raids on both Republic and Imperial territories. But the end of Valkorion's perfect empire began much closer to home. Arcan and Thexan returned from military campaigns with terrible scars from their battles against both Republic and Imperial worlds. Arcan had lost an arm in the fighting, while both brothers carried the weight of countless victories that meant nothing to their father. Despite recognition after years of being ignored, the twin brothers presented trophies from their conquest to Valkorion, hoping that finally, after all their achievements, he would show them the approval they craved more than anything else in the galaxy. But Valkorion's response was the same crushing indifference he had always shown. He treated their achievements as meaningless distractions while showing no emotion whatsoever. After a lifetime of being ignored by the one person whose approval they wanted most, something snapped in Arcan. He attacked his father with his lightsaber in pure rage. When Thexan tried to stop the violence, Arcan accidentally struck down his beloved twin brother instead. The accidental killing of his closest companion completely broke something essential in Arcan's spirit. Yet even witnessing his son's death, Valkorion showed no emotion. Arcan's grief transformed into rage beyond anything he had ever experienced. But outside events were about to give him the perfect chance for revenge. Darth Mar and his team had entered unknown regions, hunting for the source of attacks on both their territories and searching for the legendary Sith Emperor. Arcan's armies caught them completely by surprise, dragging Mar and the expedition's other leader, the Outlander, to Zakuul in chains like common prisoners. Darth Mar and the Outlander were dragged to the throne room where the Emperor waited. As soon as they entered, they could feel his dark presence crushing down on them like a weight. Yet they still called him out because they knew Zakuul was his second empire. Furthermore, they knew he destroyed Ziost, and they also knew he started decades of war between the Republic and Empire. The Emperor stood up and unchained Darth Mar with the Force. Then he demanded that Mar kneel before him, but Mar wasn't about to bow to anyone, so instead he killed 3 Zakuul guards in seconds. However, Valkorion responded with force lightning that tore through Mar's body, which killed him instantly. After that, he captured the Outlander, but then made a final mistake that would cost him everything, because in that throne room, he revealed his true identity as the immortal Sith Emperor. As a result, he gave Arcan exactly what he needed for revenge. Valkorion commanded Arcan to kill the Outlander, so Arcan drew his lightsaber. But instead of following orders, he made a choice that shocked his father. First, he cut the Outlander free, and then told him that this was their only chance to take down the Emperor. After that, Arcan charged his father with his lightsaber, which kept him occupied. While Arcan lay on the floor, the Outlander drove his lightsaber through Valkorion's chest. He thought he'd finally killed the immortal Sith Emperor who had caused so much suffering across the galaxy. But this was exactly what the ancient Emperor had been planning all along. The moment his body died, Valkorion's spirit jumped into the Outlander's mind using methods he'd spent centuries perfecting. But this host was different than anyone he'd controlled before. His body was dead, yet Valkorion lived on inside the Outlander's head. For 5 years, the Outlander stayed frozen in carbonite while Valkorion whispered in their dreams, trying to twist their thoughts. But the Outlander's will was stronger than he expected, fighting back against every attempt at control. When the Outlander finally escaped, Valkorion played the helpful mentor. He offered his power when they needed it most, pretending to guide them toward victory, all while hiding his true goal: complete possession of their body. The irony was bitter. He'd once enslaved 8,000 Sith Lords without breaking a sweat, yet this single person kept slipping through his grasp. This was his final gamble. Either he would claim ultimate victory, or everything would crumble around him. The Last Deception. Valkorion played advisor while the Outlander fought Arcan's tyranny across the galaxy. The Outlander gathered allies from every corner of the known worlds, built a resistance movement that grew stronger with each victory, and eventually redeemed Arcan through his mother Senya's love. In a desperate fight aboard the gravestone, Senya begged her son to stop his anger. Her words reached him, turning him from a cruel ruler into someone who felt sorry for what he had done. Arcan went into hiding, finally free of the rage that had consumed him. But when Vaylin broke free from her mental conditioning, she became far more dangerous than Arcan had ever been. Years of torture had twisted her abilities into pure rage that threatened to tear apart everything in the galaxy. She had to be stopped before her unstable power destroyed entire worlds. The final confrontation on Odessen ended when the Outlander and his allies defeated her in combat, her uncontrolled power ultimately contributing to her downfall. With Thexan and Vaylin dead and Arcan vanished into hiding, the Outlander claimed the Eternal Throne. This was exactly what Valkorion had been planning throughout their entire relationship, every battle and every victory leading to this moment. He revealed his true intentions with cold satisfaction, telling the Outlander they had been nothing more than a carefully shaped weapon designed to serve his ultimate purpose. Now, he would take their body and rule once more as the immortal Emperor. Valkorion continued his pitch, his voice echoing in the Outlander's mind. He told them to look around at the endless war between Republic and Empire. He offered peace through strength, where the strong would survive. The weak would be protected, but the Outlander had been preparing for this inevitable betrayal. The ultimate battle took place within the Outlander's mind rather than the physical world. They pulled out the holocron of Lord Dramath, Valkorion's tortured father, and discovered the Emperor's greatest weakness. The Outlander spoke of the same conditioning phrase Valkorion had used to control Vaylin, and it became his weakness when turned against him. Supported by the spirits of those he had wronged, Senya, Arcan, Vaylin, and countless others, the Outlander turned all of Valkorion's weapons against him with deadly results. In his final moments, Valkorion raged against the fate claiming him. The son of a farmer who had become a god through mass murder finally died as he had lived, completely alone, consumed by the same darkness he had used for so long. But even this clear victory contained one final hidden danger, yet death would not be the end for the immortal Emperor. Death of a god. When Lord Scourge and Jedi Kira Carson destroyed Tenebrae's original preserved body on Dromund Kaas, something terrible was released, a plague of darkness. This was Tenebrae's last chance to stay alive after death. The supernatural plague targeted Jedi like Satele Shan, turning her and her followers into mindless servants as it searched for a powerful Force user to possess completely. Satele Shan became the plague's primary target, but the Outlander and their allies recognized the signs of his influence. In the climactic battle known as Echoes of Oblivion, all three aspects of the Emperor's identity appeared at the same time time to fight for continued existence. Tenebrae, the cruel child, Vitiate, the immortal Sith Lord, and Valkorion, the false Emperor. Heroes from across galactic history united against them. Revan, Mitra Surik, Darth Mar, and countless others who had suffered under his rule joined forces. Their combined will proved stronger than his accumulated power, as love and sacrifice beat hatred and selfishness in the final confrontation. Finally, the galaxy was free from the son of a farmer who had tried to consume everything that lived. But this was only possible because of the Force spirit of Revan. So watch his story next.